What are some of the best choices you've made in your life? My ex-girlfriend got hooked on heroin, so I broke it off. 1. I slipped a Narcan into her bag before she walked out the door. 2. Later that week, I heard she tried to purposely odd. Someone found the Narcan and brought her back. Apparently, she turned her life around after that. Edit. We were together for almost 10 years. For things to have ended like that, it hurt so fucking bad. I heard she sobered up and recently got engaged. Glad I could do her one last solid. Have a nice life, Ape. It sounds super trivial, but keeping a diary. Even if it's just to keep track of what you did that day, our memories can only store so much. Being in touch with your feelings and exactly how you live your life on a day-to-day basis makes a huge difference to your overall well-being. Writing something down not only makes you realize exactly how you feel, but it forces you to accept something rather than repress it, and that's the first step in tackling troubling thoughts. It's done wonders for my mental health and working out what my goals in life are. Walking out of an easy job. Paid the bills with minimal effort, but I knew I was capable of more. Knew if I waited to job hunt and get interviews, I'd just keep putting it off. If I quit, I had to do something. Went to lunch, didn't go back. 2 years later, I've doubled my income at a job just as easy, except I actually feel like I have a chance of getting ahead now. Leaving an abusive relationship even though I love them very much. Sometimes you have to put yourself first. I stopped smoking weed. Hear me out. I have nothing against people that smoke weed at all. I just realized that I started lying to myself to justify smoking, so at that point I decided I needed to change something. I also thought I could get all my schoolwork done whilst high and almost failed out of college my first semester. Realized that I wasn't getting the most out of life that I could because I was smoking all the time. Since I stopped, I've gotten only 2 C's in 2 years of school and have found myself feeling much healthier and happier. While in a tumultuous relationship, I chose to not be jealous or resentful towards my partner, or anyone else. The biggest thing was realizing that it truly was a choice. When I felt jealous, I previously took it personally, for no reason whatsoever, but felt so much more free, stable, and loving when I chose to not do that. It's carried over to a lot of other aspects of my life and has truly helped me to judge and take situations for what they are, allowing me to feel loved a lot easier. This isn't going to sound like much, but I decided to appeal the suspension of my financial aid privileges so I could go to the closest university to my house. I have a wife and kids to worry about, so I can't just leave. We are getting by okay, but there is no way I could afford to add tuition into my budget. Anyway, after almost 2 years of grueling back and forth between us, my renewal of privileges was finally approved and I start school on September at the ripe old age of 31. Edit. For those asking on how I went about the appeal, I'm sure it's different depending on where you plan on going. In my case, I had to fill out an endless pile of forms explaining why I dropped out. I attempted to join the military after we went to war in Iraq, but was medically unfit and also obese at the time. I shouldn't have dropped out until after I was sure. Then I had to somehow explain how my situation has changed enough to convince them that I wasn't in danger of dropping out again. They lost numerous forms and had me restart the appeal like 3 times. I think they do this on purpose to make sure you are committed to attending. I had to fill out an academic plan and write an essay about my plans. I just kept filling out everything they asked of me, and 22 months later I got a notice saying they had expedited my appeal for approval, and my aid package award letter was available 3 days after that. I am an ecology major. My biggest dream in life is to one day set foot on Antarctica. I feel like I just got one step closer, out of thousands. Getting sober. Absolutely the best decision ever. Never knew life could be this good. Same here. 11 months for me today. Going back to high school. I'm almost done, only 14 years late. Worth it. Me too. I'm 54 and I graduate this Wednesday night. I went back to continuation school and sat in a classroom. The tutors were my son's age. Class of 2018 rocks. Also in the class of 2018 here. Funny to think that you're 3x my age but we're still in the same year. Good for you, man. Having a full hysterectomy, due to endometriosis and adenomyosis, so that I could be healthier for my daughter while her dad battles a very rare form of cancer. We are no longer together, but are best friends and co-parent very well. Hey, on that secondary note, thanks for being such a good co-parent. My parents divorced when I was a kid and they still despise each other. Almost 10 years later. It made things a lot harder than they had to be. Your daughter is 1000% better off for that, so thank you. It took a couple of years of being patient with her dad, but that has always been my #1 goal and it really pays off. Noticing the guy crying hysterically on the 3rd floor at my old college. Saw him begin motioning to climb over the ledge, so I ran up those flights of stairs so fast. Caught him just before he jumped and pulled him back over the railing. Jesus. Is he okay now? Posting about this made me reach out to him for the first time in forever. He's doing way better than before. Well, I'm heading back to college in the fall to study something different. I just beat cancer and have been feeling bored with the work I do lately, so I want to study something else and make a change. It's exciting and I'm feeling really positive lately. Smile. I met this girl my first year in the Navy. She was Russian and in the US on a work visa. She was studying English and got to spend the summer in the US as a part of her university program. While she was here, she was working as a lifeguard for the apartment pool and I was swimming every day till I could pass a swim qual for a Navy school I was going to. After a few days of flirting and conversation, I find out she lived in apartment 101 and I lived in 102 of the same building. She was the girl next door. She told me her dream was to get an American education, but unfortunately she would have to leave at the end of the summer. If you know anything about military pay, you get an extra allowance for housing if you're married. I married her so she could start her dream and I'd get paid more. We agreed that if it didn't work out, we would divorce when she got her green card. It was risky. I could go to jail, and she could get deported and never be able to return. But, I fell in love with her and she me. This next August will be our 11-year anniversary and we have 2 kids. I can't imagine my life without her now. Sometimes the risk is worth it. Just plug your nose and jump. Edit. Okay, I've learned from you guys that the story about my Russian spy wife would make for a great movie and you're all crying. Thanks guys. I've literally read every comment and responded to a couple because you guys are rad. Also, Reddit Gold? WTF, go donate to a charity. Breaking up with the emotionally manipulative girlfriend. I think we're all in that situation with a partner at some point or other, and finally taking the step to get away from them and realize you don't need them is a big part of emotional maturity. The same for me. My best choice of my life was leaving him. For me, the release was being able to escape the abuse and finally be allowed to be fully myself. Like your ex, he would threaten to kill himself, or go on a killing spree, if certain needs of his weren't met. The threat of suicide is very effective against me, and there were other abuses that happened. Taking care of him almost consumed me, and at a certain point I'd taken enough abuse and knew that I was going to have to choose between myself and him. When I chose to leave him, it was acknowledging that I loved myself more than I loved him, that I knew I was worth more than that life, and that was an incredibly powerful feeling. Thanks for watching. Do not forget to subscribe for more daily videos.